All right, so let us look into this new chapter, chapter number 5. We have both of these chapters. There is a principle of divine works, chapter 14 in the essays on the Gita, and there is a chapter number 5 from the Gita. Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Yes, Aurobindo translates it as the yoga of the renunciation of action. So every activity is to be renounced. It has to be basically taken away from the ego, though we are doing it by our nature, and given to the divine care. So this is the shift we must do, which is quite difficult to do because we are trained to do it egoistically. So we have to disengage from the claim of the ego and propose it to the higher consciousness. And so let's look into the chapter. I will start with the mantra. Om Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatam Maham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punar Yogam Cha Shamsasi Yachreya Etayor Ekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishitam. Arjuna said, you praise or you declare, Shamsasi, to me the renunciation of works, O Krishna, and again you declare the yoga as the action, punar yogam cha shamsasi. Which of one of these two is the best? Shreyach, yet Shreyach, what is best? Etayoch ekam, of these two, one. Tan me bruhi, that you tell me. Sunishitam, well, clearly decided, literally. So don't tell me philosophy, that you have to do the work and at the same time you have to do the renunciation of work. What is to be done? The work is to be renounced, activity is to be renounced, or it is to be followed constantly. Tell me what to do, and I will do it, as it were. He told him many times, go and fight, and he couldn't do it. So now he wants some explanation. How is that even possible, that we will do activities and be spiritual? And we discussed this many times, that this is the most difficult part in our psychology, to be active and perceptive at the same time. To be actively engaged and to be perceptive of the presence of the Spirit. The moment we start being engaged, we lose the contact with the inner being. It's as if some kind of curse or something which holds us back here in nature. We are totally identified with activities of nature. Our consciousness is not recognizing itself, its own, so to say, presence while we are active. It is losing that self-identity into the identity of action. Nature actually grabs us and holds us, as it were. We are losing our, if at all we had our self-awareness, but many a time we didn't have any awareness. So, so we are totally engaged in nature. Maybe we already discussed this, but Pavitra asks Sri Aurobindo about the same. How could I keep that awareness? Because the moment I start thinking something, he says, some mathematical formula, or I do some activities outside, I disconnect from that presence. So how to stay connected and do the work activity? And Sri Aurobindo recommends to him to do it slowly, keeping the contact with the, as it is in meditation, and slowly, nearly mechanically do the work outside, training oneself to be active and perceptive at the same time. It's a very difficult matter for us to be both. It's easier to be engaged, to forget oneself, to go with the flow, to lose oneself totally and then wake up. How nice it was to play this game or to be active, or to totally withdraw, close our eyes, stop our breathing and go inside and get the contact. And then wake up or open the eyes and see, wow, the world is still here. And I was already there within myself. It's either or, and very difficult to put these two together. By the way, Mother created Aurobindo for that purpose. Aurobindo is for those who want to do karma yoga, yes? To take any activity and do it as yoga. That was her major purpose. Now we are coming to this major idea, and Sri Aurobindo gives it in a very interesting way. If you look into his essays on the Gita, this principle of the divine works. There is something we do not know, really, why the divine should work. And he says, when we become totally free, when we get that unborn consciousness in us, Purusha is revealed, we become muktas, we must continue to do the work. And this is something interesting. Why should we do work when we found unborn self in us? Yeah. So there is some secret which we as embodied beings do not know. And that is the secret of Purushottama. There is a divine involved in these activities, enjoys them. They can be luminous, they can be full of delight. And that is what he is looking for. He wants all the activities to be full of delight and bliss. That's what he wants. And we think that activities are some kind of a curse. Yeah? We separated spirit and matter. We believe in the curse of labor, which we find in the Bible. In sweat and blood you will earn your bread, and so on and so forth. You remember how Adam and Eve were cursed? The curse of labor. The labor is difficult, heavy, not welcome. It takes your energy. You have to spend your energy. On the vital level, it looks like that. You spend your energy and you die. It's not pleasant. There is no pleasure in activity, as it were. It's a curse of labor. So from the curse of labor, we have to come to the blessing of labor. So, and that is possible, and that is karma yoga. It's not heavy. It's, as you were describing, Robert, this at Matrimandir. It is on that level. That is the blessing of labor. And it is possible. Of course, we need the presence of the higher spirit. We need the presence of the mother, as it were. And then it becomes possible. Everything in this world, all activities can be luminous and full of delight. But to arrive at that level, wow, it's a long way. Some of us had had this experience already in this life, but for many for me, it is like an ideal, really. Totally be free and do everything as the offering, as the offering first and then no offering anymore. It's just like a child playing in the garden, Children are playing in this way. For them, everything is interesting. Did you notice? They build these castles from the sand, and they destroy them and they rebuild them, and it is full of energy and full of delight. So something of that kind. Our mind is not stopping us with its utilities of survival, of a curse of labor. The idea that you have to do less and get more. This is the mind's idea of survival. You have to save some for the later time, for the difficult times in the future. You have to so these ideas of the survival and a pension and retirement and having enough to live till the end, they are all dictated by our miserable state of death and curse of labor. And they are not allowing us to move towards this sacrifice of every activity to the Lord of creation, who wants to enjoy it through us.
So sorry, Vladimir, sorry to interrupt you. I missed the last sentence, so it broke up. Why is this blocked? Why is he worrying about retirement? What was the reason? Sorry, I missed it.
Why? Because we know that there will be a difficult time when we will be old and will not be able to earn our bread. So we need some resources to come to the end without being a burden to others. The whole settlement is made in such a way that we can't free ourselves to do luminous. I'm exaggerating. I'm exaggerating for the sake of making black and white, to see how many elements are already settled as true within our thinking, which we don't even see that they are coming from that particular view of curse of labor. I think curse of labor is the most. That's why labor is heavy, difficult. The word labor, to labor, is something like to carry a burden, to do something which you don't want to do in order to get something you want to get. There you have that difference. You don't do it because you are delighted. It's not a delightful activity. Even if you convince yourself that it must be delightful, it is still somewhere at the back of your mind, you know that you have to do it in order to survive. And that is the curse of labor. But there is a blessing of labor. And that's why Mother wanted to create Aurobindo, where people will be free from this obligation to earn their bread. Unfortunately, we didn't follow totally her suggestions or her guidelines. We recreated the old world in kind of a new fashion with our maintenances, with our systems of support and so on, which is not working perfectly because it is built on the same idea of survival, unfortunately. But maybe sooner rather than later it will change. One day it will become something else. All right, so look at this. What he says here is amazing. This is the sense of the Gita's doctrine of sacrifice. Its full significance depends on the idea of the Purushottama, which as yet is not developed. We find it set forth clearly only much later in the 18th chapter, and therefore we have had to anticipate, at whatever cost of the infidelity to the progressive method of the Gita's exposition, that central teaching. Purushottama is someone who is engaged, the Lord, the highest supreme being, who is free from his activities and who is engaged in his activities. It is totally contradictory to the mind. Mind cannot even conceive of such an idea. To be totally free and to be totally engaged. Both. And that creates a lot of joy and bliss. That particular state, to be free and active. Okay, let's look into the text. Sorry, it's not that. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. So the question was, why do you confuse me? You say to me that there must be sannyasa, the renunciation of action, and at the same time you speak about it as yoga, as engagement in action. By the way, for Krishna's exposition, that is the yoga is the action, yeah? And sannyasa is the philosophy, seeing how everything is made, put into action. So the renunciation of the activities and action itself, yoga, you speak about these two. Tell me only one, what I should do, and tell me about this decisively, sunishchitam, perfectly decided. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, and listen to his answer. Sannyasah karma yogascha nishreyasa karao ubhao tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. It reminds me immediately of the first 3 chapters of Life Divine. And I will explain why. Sri Bhagavan said that Krishna says, sannyasa and karma yoga. So renunciation and karma yoga and action in yogic action in, how to put it, and karma yoga, there is no way to translate it, nishreyasa karau ubhau, both are leading to the highest realization, to the highest good. Tayohtu, but among these two, karma sannyasat, from the renunciation of action, karma yoga, the yoga of action, vishishyate, is distinguished, is better. He says for the first time what is better. Karma yoga is better than karma sannyasa. Karma sannyasa, renunciation of action, and karma yoga, engagement in action in a conscious manner. And you know why it reminds me of the Life Divine, of this, the renunciation of the ascetics and and of materialist denial, because Aurobindo says the same thing there, that materialist denial is more useful for us because you cannot totally deny the spirit, you know. If you are engaged in activity, then the spirit is still there. But if you remove that from even your agenda, that activity is a wrong thing, then you deny the very embodiment of the spirit. So, and this is quite interesting, very similar here. Sri Krishna says that karma yoga is better. Acting with consciousness is better than renouncing activity with consciousness. Makes sense, no? Being engaged is better than being disengaged. And then he will say something more. Jneyaksa nitya sannyasi yonadveshti nakankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabahu sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Better, it should be known, he should be known as Nitya sannyasi, as the one who is constantly renouncing. Yonadveshti, who is not hating, literally, who is not liking and disliking. Nadveshti nakangshati. Nirdvandvohi mahabaho, the one who is beyond dvandva. Sukham bandhat pramuchyate. He is released easily and happily from the bondage. So constant sannyasin, constant, the one who is constantly renouncing, is the one who has no preferences, likings and dislikings. He is the sannyasi, who is beyond dvandva of liking and disliking and preference. And he is liberating himself from bondage of karma, happily. So this is a real answer. So the sannyasa is to take place in the inner being, not in the outer action. Sannyasa is renunciation of our desires and preferences and likings and dislikings. And that is sannyasa. That is the renunciation, not the world in its activities, but in our attitude towards what we do. There we have to be free from. We have to allow the activities to go on, and he will speak about himself that he is engaged in activities, though he has nothing to gain from them. But the moment he stops being engaged, the Purushottama, the Supreme, the world will disappear. So it seems that even when we are free, we have to continue to be active. This is beautiful. So there is no hope for that finally we will retire. So we got into the place from which there is nothing else to be done. No retirement plan, sorry. We have to continue to act all the time in this world and the next. Sankhya yoga prithag balach pravadanti na panditaha. Ekam apyasthitach samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. Sankhya and yoga are different, thus speak only children. Children speak of Sankhya and yoga apart from each other, not the wise. Na panditach. Ekam api asthitach samyak. But if you take one path properly, ubhayor vindate phalam, you will arrive at the fruit or result of both. You start renouncing every activity in a sense of preferences. Your preferences for this to be done or that to be done. This I like to do, that I don't like to do. I would like to read now and to become a philosopher and a teacher, not to work in the garden. I don't want to do business. I am not a businessman. I am made for knowledge. I'm speaking about myself now. And I don't like heavy work. There's physical work. I don't like physical exercises. Sorry, Lakshman is here. Most probably he's listening to me. Some laziness in the body, some preference to something which I already found myself in. And I would like to hold on to that and repeat that constantly as if I am only that. But I'm kind of narrowing down my framework. I am becoming... So I will need more reincarnations for that purpose. But it is much better to develop more holistically and to take elements of work which I do not know. And with a spiritual attitude, with offering those elements, to discover the presence in them. This is much greater progress. Yes? to learn to like things or to be interested, as Mother says somewhere, in things which are of no interest to you. Find that spiritual meaning in everything. And that is widening the scope immensely. Suppose I had this idea of integral development, of integral paradigm of knowledge. We were working on this idea, on this concept for many years in the University of Human Unity. And we arrived at this interesting conclusion that the development is to take place with those faculties which are undeveloped, rather than with those which are developed. Suppose I am a very good musician, yes? So I don't need to indulge in the kind of creating more and more, becoming more and more efficient in music and become some kind of, great artist or great musician or composer. I need to develop the other faculties of seeing, of the word. I have to work on the faculties which are not totally developed, which I don't like because I'm not efficient with them. I am weak with them. People don't like me when I use those faculties. Yeah? And I feel this. I feel that I'm not efficient. And still, if I would develop the elements which are not developed in me, then there will be a more holistic possibility for consciousness to appear. And my trained and well-developed faculties will become even more efficient because they will have more instruments, more entries for their own application. This was an interesting conclusion. Instead of developing your strong parts more and more, to develop your weak parts which are not developed. It reminds me of what Mother spoke to Sri Aurobindo. You remember why I'm so mediocre? Yeah? Artist. She thought that she's a mediocre artist. Why am I not like Beethoven musician or something? And his answer was exactly this. Our purpose is different. We need to have all the elements well harmonized. And that is something which makes sense to me, because we are here to reveal the consciousness which is far beyond our capacity. And for that we need to be well composed. This was also the topic of my presentation. To be well composed, mind, vital, and body have to become one being, as it were. And then there is a chance for us that the inner self may shine through. If we are in a disbalance, of course, grace may do that for us also, as Mother did for others. Bring the inner being forward. Yatsenko, Yatsenkyah prapyate sthanam tad yogair apigam yate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha pashyati sapashyati. What you achieve with the help of Sankhya and with the help of yoga, that is one. Sankhya and yoga. The one who sees the oneness in Sankhya yoga, he sees. He knows. There is no difference between Sankhya and yoga. There is no difference between consciousness and action, which is already this holistic view, the integral view. We always separate consciousness and action, spirit and matter. I have to achieve some spiritual state, and in that spiritual state I feel good, I close my eyes, I feel bliss, I feel peace, joy. And then I open my eyes and I have to do so many things, stupid things, heavy things, unhappy things. So I'm drawn back to my closing eyes, stopping breath, stopping thought, diving deep into that luminous inner being. And then I don't want to deal with this outer world, which is so difficult, and taking away from me all my inner perception. In The Secret of the Vedas, Aurobindo describes this process very beautifully with panis as the indriyas of action. He says that the indriyas of action evolved from the inconscient and they steal our light. Yeah? And we spoke about this in the introduction to the Gita before. And they steal and store that light, that inner perception, in the subconscious cave until the intuitive mind comes down with his lightning and breaks the subconscious cave and releases all stolen treasures over millennia, over millions of years. Over this whole long period of evolution, those treasures were stolen and put into the subconscious cave. And I thought about this many times. What for? What is this utility to steal our, luminous perceptions and hide them in that subconscious cave? What is the utility in this? What do you think? Marta, you think something about this subconscious cave, I'm sure.
There must be some element of gain for those powers, some building up of some kind of riches from our light, our supply of light. It's part of all this strange evolutionary challenge that we're engaged in, isn't it? I mean, it's just there are forces of light and forces of darkness, and the darkness serves the purpose of challenging us, testing us, and enabling our development that way.
Yeah.
But there are great mysteries involved, and I certainly don't understand them.
Yeah, for me also it's the greatest mystery. But your explanation was actually to the point that most probably stealing those inner treasures from us, as it were, and holding them down in the darkness is calling, so to say, more and more to the intervention from above to make that bridge, to make that leap of divine energy, yeah? To reach to those depths.
That sort of reminds me of mothers describing this inner spring that like a coil of rebound. Like we have to go so far down into the depths of our nature, and we can go so far down that then we reach a spring that will propel us upwards. And we do have to explore the depths in order to purge them and to know the darkness, to be able to live with the shadow in ourselves, and to be able to bring everything into the light.
Yeah, and it is not, Aurobindo says, the yoga for, he would never recommend this yoga to anyone, only to those who have this calling, because it is, but once we know what is to happen, of course, we cannot be satisfied with work half done or some kind of disappearance.
That's true.
Yeah, we are caught by the spirit already. And now we are tortured by it with delight.
It's an arduous journey, though, isn't it? It's just, it's never meant to be easy, because everything has to be churned and discovered and brought into the light. It's just.
And I even wonder whether it is meant to be easy even after, So, because when we read, when Mother Savitri receives the boons from the Lord in Savitri, what he says to her is very interesting statements, like in suffering and in this, in death and that, in this. I will be always with you. So there is, it seems that the world will continue as it is, but there will be a presence of the Supreme, and that presence will change the whole game of all those activities. They will continue. Yeah, there will be all those inconsistencies, clashes, and so on and so forth, fights. It won't be a like jelly, nice world where everything is finally found its place and nothing, no interaction. There will be difficult interactions, but he will be there behind everything to enjoy those, surprises from time and space. So it's quite interesting. So we may expect in our mind the world of some beautiful paradise where you have enough food and joy non-stop. But I don't think that is the purpose or the outcome of this realization. There must be something greater than that. That surprise, yeah, that which we all were seeking, which he was seeking, yeah, in time and space, will continue. It
Yes,
will not disappear.
evolution is not, excuse me, evolution is not considered ever to be complete, is it? I mean,
Yeah,
it can go on endlessly.
right.
Question, Vladimir. What is this hidden treasure you referred to earlier? I might have missed it. That
This is about, it's in the Vedas, it's a Vedic imagery
Oh, okay.
of the subconscious cave where our perceptions are stolen by the karmendriyas or the indriyas of action, which are hands, speech, legs, procreatory organs. These are the activities which connect our physical body with the outside world. They all develop and grew up from the inconscient. You know, how to connect our inner consciousness to the outer being through action. And these indriyas of action, or karmendriyas, they do not know how to give themselves to the divine. That's the problem. That's how Sri Aurobindo describes them. They're panis, traders and traffickers. So they catch the light, and the light which comes to us to illumine our activities, and they steal it and store it in the subconscious cave.
Wow. Is that the lower vital? Or
It's
is it
some
below
kind
that?
of, yes, occult world in the vital, yes, realm.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
And that's why, because of this, we developed a particular methodology of yoga where you have to sit quietly. Yes, you have to train yourself by asanas to be able to sit for many hours in meditation without being disturbed in the body. Then you have to be able to become totally quiet in your mind, in your vital, purified enough, peaceful, in order to reach deeper into your inner being. Because the moment you start activity in the body, these karmendriyas, or these indriyas of action, are awakened, and they immediately block away the inner perception. The moment you start moving with your hands or with your legs, walking around, or anything of that kind, thinking too much or speaking too much, you feel immediately that that inner perception is fading away, even if you had it before. It's like you're coming out of meditation and you start doing something, cooking and talking about food, as we usually do in our retreats. So immediately you have totally different world around you, and you just wonder what has happened. We just stepped from one world to another world. So everything, all that accumulation of presence, of light, is just fading. So how to be luminous in consciousness and be active in the body? That's the point. That's the karma yoga. Yes.
Vladimir?
Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think at one stage in his yoga, Sri Aurobindo used to walk and meditate at the same time. And he walked for miles and miles, back and forth, up and down his room. And I think perhaps maybe he was trying to combine this ability to stay within with his outward perception. So he was making the path for us to follow.
Yes, I'm totally convinced that it is so, yeah? That he was bringing that perception into his karmendriya of legs, so to say, and for all of us, for all of the humanity. And now we can have walking meditations.
Right.
Now people speak about walking meditation, and that's exactly the case. We can. And we can also keep contact with the light while we speak. Did you notice? It wasn't so much possible, for example, 40 years back, or I can see the progress, or even 50 years back, it was hardly possible. People were speaking conceptually only. They were not trying to connect to the presence while speaking. But now it becomes possible, somehow more possible than before.
Do you see, Vladimir, like doing intense mental work like mathematical problems or programming or working with spreadsheets? I find it a little bit harder to think about Mother or Aurobindo. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Is there any tricks or techniques you have? I find it easier when I'm sweeping the room. I find it much easier to remember Aurobindo and Mother.
No, you're absolutely right. What you say, it is true. That's why Mother gave these works like washing dishes. We spoke about this before, I guess. In the ashram, for two intellectuals to take and wash dishes or to go to work in the kitchen. Why? Because this is a mechanical work where you can train your consciousness to be aware of that inner presence, and doing that work slowly bring that luminosity. It's like a training of the instruments. And when you are engaged in a mathematical formula, it's more subtle matter, and then you are totally driven by it. But I'm not sure. I think you can do it even there in the mental realm if you engage that higher purpose or aspire for the truth, not for the solution of mathematical formula, but for the truth in mathematical formula. Then most probably you will see some shift. It will become like a music, like a beauty. Or some people feel that. Right, because when we are result-oriented, we want just our result to be done, yes, for some other sake, and because of that we lose the sense of the truth in it. That's the attachment to the fruit of action, which is leading us astray from the path of recognition of the inner being. Okay, so there are few more things. Maybe we can stop here. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukham aptum ayogatah yoga yukto munir brahma nachirena adhigacchati. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukham aptum. But to achieve the renunciation, it's difficult without yoga. Ayogatah. So without yoga, to achieve any renunciation, without doing something for it, without acting and with the presence of a higher consciousness, to achieve sannyasa is very difficult. But the one who is in yoga, Munir, he is coming to the spirit very soon. He will attain to the spirit very soon. Nachirena, not for long, adhigacchati, he will realize Brahman, the spirit. So it seems, so we have no choice. We cannot totally renounce without being engaged. It doesn't work like this. Because even to renounce, even physically to renounce any activity, it is a kind of activity. Even to stand on one leg or whatever, or to lie down and never get up for many years in the cave, it's still a very difficult activity. So in a way, I think it's our mind which is bewildering us. There is no way out. It's only more conscious action or less conscious action, more dedicated action to the spirit and searching for its own fulfillment in the activity, finding the truth in every activity, or not finding it, or looking for something else, for fulfillment of the lower movements in nature, which we mistakenly consider our own, and thinking that it is our desires, though it is nature's desires of other energies which are flowing through us and settled within us. We had this discussion with Shraddhalo, by the way. Maybe I will just with this mention it. There was a question about ordinary life, a marriage life. Many people asked marriage questions, though I didn't put them to him forward and to Alok also. How to be with marriage and ordinary life. The problem is here that it's very difficult to dedicate it to the spirit, because it involves ordinary energies of vital world, which are dominating the whole nature, because nature exists on these energies. And the moment you claim to be free or want to become free from the ordinary nature, these energies are activated in a specific way against sadhaks. I know it through life in Aurobindo and ashram. The sadhaks of integral yoga are targeted by these energies more than anybody else in the world. I know it, because the moment you claim higher realization, the moment you want them to be transformed in you, they are activated 100 times more.
Do you mean sexual energies?
Sexual energies, all those stupid energies of desire for food, for this, for that, security, all kind of things. They are invisible, but they are very strong. And I can't blame anyone who is kind of trying his way out with that claim. Especially the moment I claim, I failed so many times. The moment I make a vow, just try it. I will never do this or that. You will see what you will get. All the energies resisting will pile up and suffocate you, and your vital will be rebellious. It will rebel against you and your spiritual path, and it will exhaust you with no energy. You will feel that you lost the whole aim of life and any means of living, until you are pushed again into the same groove. So it's a very difficult topic for sadhaks. For ordinary people, it's much better. They do not claim. They believe it's a normal life and they can live normal life. That's why Aurobindo says, I would never recommend to anyone this yoga. It is really not an easy one. It's easier to be Advaitin really and seek only spirit and consider this to be Maya and renounce all the activities, or at least in the words in the mind. But to be truly transforming this nature, bringing the spirit in every activity, it's not an easy path. sorry to tell this kind of sharing with you my difficulties.
So, Vladimir, what exactly was the insight shared by Shraddhalu and Alok? Like, if someone is in the ordinary family life and have also been into this integral yoga, like one can't leave it. So, how to reconcile that? Because if it comes, and how to do that and still progress? What was the insight shared?
He said a simple thing that there is no problem with that. Yeah, it's a power of nature, and you live in accordance with the power of nature. You just as a natural being, you fulfill whatever. You don't claim much. Yeah, you don't make it a problem for yourself, because the moment you make it a problem, it becomes the one. So I think he's right for suggesting this to anyone who is just wants to live a normal life and wants to have some truth or some understanding, which is fine. But the moment you want to transform your being and your nature, there you will have an immense support, presence, and at the same time you will have an immense resistance. And if you can handle both, then it's fine. Then you're called upon to do it. I struggle all my life with these energies. I've already described this, and we discussed this here with Shraddhalu here when he came to US a few years back, and with others. I never found a solution. It's like you're split into two beings, as if one lives for the divine only from heart onwards, and from heart downwards is another being, as it were. There are two different beings, two different centers within one, as it were. And I think that is the sacrifice. One is to be brought into the light of the other. And it cannot be done immediately. It needs time. It needs many attempts, many failures, I guess, also. And until it is done. But I noticed that there is no way out from this. Yeah? You cannot say that you will be only one of these two. You cannot go back, first of all. It's impossible. It's just impossible to even imagine. But you cannot go also only to the light. It's also impossible.
But wouldn't it be kind of more comprehensive, like if one can in the attempt of trying that normal life, because when kids first, like initially mother was mentioning that the ashram was very strict about admitting anyone and people couldn't have family ties, but then during the war the kids started coming and she included them, and then she said now we can't eliminate many difficulties that were not there before, and so this is more difficult, but it would be kind of more comprehensive and it would take in all aspects of the creation that was not there before. So wouldn't it, the trying itself, wouldn't it lead to a more completer development of a person or something?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would never recommend anybody to even claim this kind of thing. Yeah, it's just maybe by ignorance or by some kind of calling or by some aspiration that some of us did this kind of attempt, and they tried to change their lives and failed many times, and I don't regret. I learned by these failures a lot. I have it by experience. I know how it works and how it doesn't work. I know what is to be done, and I know they restrict kind of the impossibilities within my nature, which are not impossible. Somehow, when Nirod Baran came to Sri Aurobindo and said that sometimes I see myself as the son, or I forgot how you said, the host of all the sexual energies and desires. Sri Aurobindo told him, but it is not always like this. It's not. It's not always like this. And that is a savior's statement. Because once in a while we must fall into some deeper impossibility from which we rise in a higher possibility. So this yoga is going like this. And I wonder why this diving is always necessary. The moment you rise, you must dive. You cannot keep on the top.
Is it a problem more for men, you think, than women?
I think for both. I don't
It's
think
for both, right? Okay.
I don't think it's only men's problem. I do not know how you know it, but I know it like this.
The whole
I would-
So,
process,
Yeah?
excuse me. Yeah, the whole process really makes your progress much more integral because there's no escape once you have the call. There's really no escape. You just have to go through, and you fall and you rise and you fall again, and it through all those experiences, really all the aspects of your nature, every aspect becomes addressed and has the opportunity for change.
Yeah. Yeah, I
so
agree.
Aurobindo, I think one technique, I may be wrong, but he said if you think this is part of yourself, it becomes harder. But when you realize it's coming from Prakriti or coming from the outside, or worse forces, they come through your lower vital and settle there, and you think it's part of you, so it becomes more difficult. So it's like pulling your own part out, but it's actually coming from outside. I know it's easier said than done, but it's actually these thoughts and wrong suggestions are coming from outside you, and they kind of settle in you, and they arise from within, and you think it's all yours. So it becomes harder when you think it's part of you. It seems to be easier when you realize it's coming from outside you.
It's easier, but it's much easier as to become conscious of the forces. But once they know the corridors into your being, they already
Yes.
know how to enter. Even that helps. I'm not saying that it doesn't help, but even that will not save you from their influence. Because somewhere in us there is some slumber, something in us wants to be not conscious in the moment when they take over, and it agrees, it gives consent. It says, okay, this time again, okay, I fall again. Mother says that we give consent even to death. Somewhere we say, yes, okay, that's time, that's my time. And that's how we die. We give consent to every accident, to every disease. There is a glimpse of time in which this is decided by us. If we would not decide that, nobody would be able to do anything to us. Somehow we are convinced we are part of nature, and that nature is a big part of us, where we are not aware of our unborn self. And there we follow her natural ways of doing things. It's a big topic. All right, we are 12 minutes over. Okay, thank you for sharing these thoughts, and it's integral yoga through the Gita, so to say.
I guess Radhe is not here.
Yeah, Radhe is. She gets this allergy from the flowers and so on. I do not know, from dust. She got the allergy, so she doesn't feel very good today, very well. So great. Let us close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santo Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Namaste. See you next time. Yes, please read that chapter, which is excellent. Let me tell you what is this. Number 14. the principle of divine works. We can discuss it next time. Yeah, what are these principles of the divine works, and why we have to work, and we cannot be free from this. All right, see you then.